Hi, welcome to Write More Light. My name is Sarah here with the Midwest Writing Center, and I'm so excited today to share with the world probably my all-time favorite human. Um, there's been a few times when I've had people on, and I think it's so cool how it seems like I've known them for a while, and it's like the first time I've ever met them is on that call, and I'm very proud of having that kind of um, back and forth with strangers. But this time I'm going to be at my utmost professional so that I can show that I love this human so much by virtue of how cool they are. So as usual, we're going to do the little interview. Then I'm going to give some updates about what's up at the Midwest Writing Center. Then we're going to go into our free write, which I'm really excited about that one too. So for folks who watch the show, you're probably familiar with this painting. So that's going to be your first, woo, there we go. That's your first introduction to Lewis Civilla, my greatest co-conspirator in life. I cannot say enough wonderful things about Lewis. For folks who know me personally, you've seen this. This is issue 1 of Beholder, the lithograph version. The rest of it's online. I'd show you up close and personal, but that's a lot of work. And issue 2, which literally made me cry. Well, I'll get into Beholder a bit deeper on my end of things, but for now, I would like to introduce to you, I'd like to officially introduce to you Lewis Civilla, creator of Beholder magazine.
Yes, my little baby, Beholder. Your baby too.
How are you doing? Welcome. Thanks for coming. It's only been like 6 or 9 months since I started poking you about it. Very exciting.
Yep. It was never going to happen as long as you were lenient with me about like when it was going to happen. It had to be like, no, we have to actually set a date. It has to happen on that date, and it's a non-movable date. The only other way.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes it is really hard to be anything but chill with your friends.
You gotta hold their feet to the fire. I learned that the hard way.
So I had this whole plan of what order to do this in, and then I didn't prepare for it. So we're gonna leap into questions, and then I'm just gonna weave in and out with my plans. Tell me the behind the scenes story for Beholder.
Do you want the long form?
I want the 2016 version.
2016 version. Okay, so I'm working in a bookstore. And this is actually part of my editor's note on the first issue, but whatever. I'm working in a bookstore, specifically the university bookstore in UW in Seattle. And it's like November, the election just happened, and I sobbed for like a week. I like knew so many people who like weren't thinking it was a big deal, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm working there, and there's like 1984 is flying off the shelves, as well as like What We Do Now and a bunch of other like political books about like kind of like about direct action, which was actually kind of cool that people were so animated about it. And I was just feeling like super depressed and like helpless. And I was reading a magazine that just had this like cute sort of little what not to do about like hosting, and I thought it was really funny, and I was like, I could have written this better though, and also like written it more specifically towards like not being an asshole. And then I was like, Don't Be a Dick is a good like magazine like section. It'd be cool because you could do it like for like more like social justice like issues. And then I was like, or I could just make a magazine. Wouldn't that be cool? And here we are today. Making a magazine was something that I didn't think I was ever going to do. I never thought about doing, and then I suddenly thought about doing it, and then it like became a thing that I did. And I thought about it for a few years. I think I immediately told everyone in my immediate social circle that I was going to make a magazine like within like a week, because I do that. And then I think like 2 years later was when I actually made one happen. It took a long time. I would actually say this. I want to add this. I really like Man Repeller, which is like an online like fashion site that is published by like a bunch of really fucking dope
What's it
femmes.
called?
It's called Man Repeller. It's basically a fashion mag where I think it's called Man Repeller. Shit, I should double check that.
I'm looking it up. You keep talking.
Okay, cool. I believe it's Man Repeller, where it's like the point of it is to be like, fuck man, we don't need to look good for them. We just like fashion because it's cool and interesting and it's art. And I remember reading like an interview with that mag's creator where she said like that there was never like you were never going to be ready to make a magazine, so you might as well just like start making it, because you're going to learn everything once you've already started. You're not going to learn it before, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you might as well get your feet wet.
I actually saw something yesterday. A woman I know is opening a yoga studio, and she had tagged her posts, ready is a lie, do it anyway. And I had a galaxy brain moment about it.
Yeah,
it's just Repeller, by the way. Repeller.com.
It's just called Repeller.
Repeller.com.
It used to be Man Repeller, I swear.
I'm sure that it's like branded that way, but the URL is repeller.com.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, cool. The point is that I had been dragging my feet about it for a really long time, and I finally committed to doing it at that point. Granted, there was like a lot of like shuffling. Like I got a job at a marketing company, and I was like I did a whole new thing. I had a lot of life changes going on, so it's part of why I got delayed so much. And I actually committed to doing it once I got Brit on the project. Brit is this completely badass, oh my god, amazing designer, art director that worked at my company with me. She's still there, pop, but doesn't matter. She's like a DJ. She like toured in England, in Europe, maybe. I don't know. She's really cool. Point is, she said she wanted to like be part of it and to like help me design the magazine, and that was the thing that I was really nervous about. And so when she got on the project, I was like, all right, we've got Britt, we've got Sarah, we have another friend who will not be named because she likes to be anonymous, but we were ready to go. And like we just went for it. It was good.
I love seeing you talk about it. I know that was like a really big. Can you hear that noise?
Yes, it's okay though. It's not very loud.
Okay, thank you. I love hearing you talk about it because there's so much passion there, and I've seen the growth and the changes and all of the different things that you've had to research and look into and like become more, I don't know, full as a human being in the process of creating this publication. I'm going to go ahead and do the screen share I meant to do in the very beginning of this. So we're going to look at Beholder magazine, which I don't have.
Oh shit, are we going on the site?
We are. Very, very exciting.
Whoa, here we go.
So Lewis said that I was involved, and that's true. I am the consulting editor, which is a really fun way for me to be able to wrinkle my nose or give thumbs up and call it work. So here is the beautiful website. This is beholdermagazine.com. And I posted these little, the about stuff from this website in our promotion here. Oh, that's me right here. Look at that.
There you are.
And I really love this, so I'm going to read it. Beholder Magazine is an independent publication created by a couple of femme queers living in Seattle. We want to create an equitable platform for marginalized groups and want to especially encourage all people of color, trans, queer, femme, disabled, neuro, atypical, or otherwise marginalized creative people to submit if interested. That said, Beholder is a magazine by all people for all people, and we want to be clear that there's no you must have no greater than X privilege measuring stick we're using, unless someone makes that for us. Can someone make that for us? And I also noticed recently, this is under the radar, that the art is no longer, or for the next issue, I guess, won't be the eyeball, which is not here anyway. Just kidding. The issue 2 about is Beholder is an exploration of survival. Its message is captured within the ways that we experience suffering and attempt to find ease. In humor, especially, we quirk our lips into wry grins and release our pain in small snickers and booming guffaws. Yet sometimes we need not even be so cynical. And sometimes we just want to preserve quiet, quick moments of joy. This publication is a curation of all our frayed pieces as interwoven threads. It's a small offering of our hearts given to you in this dark time. We hope that something within these pages might lift you up, or at least if you find it terrible, that it provides you with a good laugh. So I'm going to click in because I think too that this is just a beautiful publication. Like, this is not a still image.
Yeah, Teddy had some really great gifts. I was like so excited to be able to publish them live on the mag because I printed at least one of them in the mag, and it turned out really cool because with Rides of Graph you do 2-color, and his are so bold they came out really good. But it was really nice to be able to keep the actual the animated ones. The eye you were talking about was actually done by Honda. This is Honda's work. But I had Honda make me a couple of images for me to print as stickers for next issue. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool.
Now I'm just flipping through the pages just to show how varied the art is, how pretty the site is. I really think that you have something really special here. Of course, you've heard me say that, in that you are not limited to just one, this is a long piece, to just one art form due to, the virtue of being online and being someone who has expertise in many, many, many kinds of art, which I think really, really helped you to develop this beautiful, beautiful publication, right? So you, when I met you, I would have called you a writer and a visual artist. And now, I know that you have worked with comics, have written them. I know that you have gone to editing school, and I know that you are in whatever the heck web stuff school. Can you tell me a little bit about how programming? See, I know things. It's fine. Can you tell me how your various backgrounds in the arts and in the technical side of things have converged, and what kind of education you've gained in the process of creating Beholder?
Yeah, so I've always been somebody who considers myself like the quintessential jack of all trades, master of none. I have zero interest in sticking with something through to the end, but I'm very interested in starting new things all the time. It was really, speaking of the sticking things through to the end, it is really hard when you're like me to actually publish the issue. It's really great and easy to have the issue just like span on to perpetuity, which is kind of where issue 3 has been, but we'll get to that later. But it was really hard to actually publish because of that. Anyways, going back here, I've long sought to find a something that I could do for a living that let me use all of my interests all the time, like creativity and logic just mesh together. So the cool thing about Beholder is it lets me be like an artist, a designer, a writer, a publisher, an editor, like a social person who like brings people together. It lets me be a project manager. It lets me like be a printer, which I'm really interested in printing. It lets me like be a web developer. It lets me do, and right now, even now, like I've been learning enough about backend that I'm like rebuilding Beholder's site from scratch, so I don't have to use Wix anymore.
Can you tell me what backend means?
Backend is, well, okay, so like, back end and front end are like the two sides of the same coin when it comes to developing a website. The front end is the stuff that you see that's like the HTML, the CSS, it's like the pretties, JavaScript. And then the back end is like the interaction with, well, how do I describe this?
The building blocks.
The back end can be a lot of different things. What Beholder's back end is going to be is basically just like a web app that has like a database so that I can like generate it more easily. It's kind of complicated, but point is, and I don't want to sound like I'm an idiot, while at the same time I don't want to like speak like too technically. So I'm trying to just
No. Yeah, I was
toe that middle line.
I don't feel like I don't understand, but one of my goals with this video series is to never use jargon without explaining it.
Yeah, totally.
So
I like it. Yeah.
my understanding is that front end would be what I, as the user, am interacting with. Back end would be what the creator is doing in behind the curtain.
Kind of, you're interacting with both ends technically, but the things you're seeing are probably going to be more the front end than the back end. Or well, it's complicated. Don't worry about it. Point is, I don't know how to describe it. So if because like the back end, what I'm doing is I'm taking information from the information in the back end that I've stored, and I'm like serving it for like to the front of the page. So it's still interacting with the front is still interacting with the back. It's like a whole thing. Anyways,
I realized the audience couldn't see me do that, but I did.
Okay.
I did.
she just did this. So, but the point is, let me continue forward, which is that making Beholder lets me do everything that I like to do, which is really, really satisfying, although it's also really, really exhausting. Wearing all those hats sounds cool in theory until you actually have to like have the emotional and mental energy to wear all those hats all the time. When I first started doing Beholder, I was like, oh, we're definitely going to do 4 issues a year. I wanted to do quarterly. And that rapidly turned into, no, I guess we're just going to do biannually. And then it was like, once a year it is. Okay, here we go. Like, this is all I have the energy for. It's so much work. It's wild because it like when I think about each individual thing, I'm like, it wasn't that much work, but as a whole, taken as a whole, it's a lot of work. I think the number one reason why it is so much is because it's a lot of emotional labor. It's really a lot of because I care about it so much. Because I want it to do so much. I want to do so much with it. I want it to be like this like force for good. I put a lot of pressure on myself for it to be perfect and for it to be all these things. And Sarah, you've been with me for a long time. You understand how like much I've like torn myself up over feeling like I'm not doing the right thing at every turn and being like frustrated that Beholder can't be everything I wanted it to be. I've wanted it to be like a, 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 a hub for resources for people in need, and I also want it to be like some way that I can like generate enough income that I can donate to homeless shelters. And like I wanted to also be like a place where I like have a platform for marginalized voices, and I wanted to also be a way to educate like people of privilege of what it's like to not have privilege in a comfortable way. Like I want it to be everything, but it can't be everything. And coming to terms with that has been like kind of a very, very long process.
I love that you said that it can't be that, because I've actually definitely seen like the ways in which you're growing as a person in, I think you went to editing school before. I know that's not what it's called. Before the first issue, but the ways in which you've grown in your education in these technical ways have definitely broadened your ability to be that resource that you think about. And I think probably you just don't see it because you're inside it, and no matter what, you're going to be hard on yourself because it's never going to be enough, but you have certainly expanded into ever more, which is really cool. I know I'm going to praise you for a while. I was going to say, I have found when I start working with things that seem technical or scientific or not art, just I always end up, once I get invested, really believing in the art of those things. Do you feel that way with editing, with programming, with web design?
Wait, I'm sorry. I think I kind of missed what you were asking. You're saying what?
As the more you get into these technical aspects, do they feel like art?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's a leading question.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that like literally anything you do has a creative element to it, right? Like, we are creative beings. It's one of like the few things that humans do right. Most of the things we do is terrible, but of the things we do right, being creative at almost every turn is one of them. And A lot of people sell themselves short over what creative is, but with
I
the
have heard
website.
I have
What?
heard it said that imagination is what separates humans from other animals. But it's also like the thing that creates
A lot of other
anxiety and hope.
totally.
Other animals
Um,
live in the moment, but keep going. I just wanted to
um,
agree with you.
you're right. So yeah, I mean, just in picking out what can be in the magazine and what can't be in the magazine is a creative endeavor of itself. Like, the magazine has to have a voice, and so like I've turned things down that were great that just weren't the voice. It sucks. I've the making of the website has to be creative. I have like I'm even right now I'm building the website in this framework called Django, and I'm trying to figure out like how to build the the modules. Like there's this whole thing of like how do I do this, because there's like 3 or 4 different approaches I can take, and I have to figure out which one. I've been trying to figure out which one is the right approach that like allows me to like streamline the build of the site as much as possible. And it's been kind of like a lot of work. But it's a creative endeavor. It's not just like it's not just like a logical exercise, because yeah, there's many interpretations and you kind of pick the one that's right for you. um yeah.
I realize that there's probably a way I could have phrased that where it wasn't like a yes or no question. But and I haven't asked you that before. I didn't know what your answer was going to be. But I find that every time I get interested in something that I think is not at all arty, it turns into an art. But I am also kind of the kind of person who you know believes the difference between science and magic is human understanding. So um, these views are not representative of the Midwest writing Center. We believe in science here, or not.
I mean, I think it's accurate to say that like I mean it's almost like a dig on magic that it's just misunderstood science.
No matter what, I'm representing no one but Sarah. Okay.
Fairies are going to be very mad at you for saying that.
What?
I said the fairies are going to be very mad at you for saying that. Expect many of your items to be stolen in the next few days.
I already have nightmares. So have there been no, I'm gonna save that question. One of my favorite things, and this is, the first thing, you already said this, but one of the first ideas that planted the seed or watered the seed or cultivated the garden was the don't be a dick.
Yeah, totally.
It's also really cool. I know you've had, God, maybe you haven't, maybe I just remember these things from talking and not from reading. But like being a house guest, we've got, how to interact with someone in a wheelchair. Tell me about this series of this section.
I have a love-hate relationship with Don't Be a Dick. It's the thing that started the magazine. It was like the idea that like crystallized into like I could just make this thing, or I could make a magazine, because that's how my brain works. Uh, and I love it. Like I have a lot of ideas for it. There's a lot of different things. I wrote hosting, and then I was going to write being a guest. But last issue I was a little, I don't know, I was just having kind of like a crisis with that series in particular. And I asked Connor, our mutual friend, to guest star as the writer, and he wrote one on being somebody in a chair. And I mean, his is fantastic. There's things, literally every single person who has read that has told me they learned something from it, which is exactly what I wanted,
including me, and I thought I was awesome.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we've both been, so Connor has, he's in a wheelchair, and he uses a wheelchair, and he and I have been friends for like 7 years at least. I don't know. Same thing.
I think more than that. I've been in my relationship for 6 years, so it's got to be like 8 with Connor.
But I mean, I've been with him I've been friends with him for
With
so
him?
long. I've been with him. No, but I've been with him out and about in the world when like people do this shit, and I've seen how frustrated he gets with it. You know, he's like kind of shared his frustrations with me. So I thought I like knew all of these things, and then like he wrote this, and I was like, nope, there's still things I was not aware of. Like I think a
Mhm.
lot of people say like the curb cut
That's,
one.
yeah, I was scrolling for it.
Yeah,
Don't stand in the middle of the curb cut while you wait to cross the street. Get your head out of your ass and look around you to make sure no one needs it.
yeah. I know.
It never would have occurred to me.
I love he's got some great shit. We are not inspiration porn. Like, please do not use me as your personal motivation.
This
uh,
one is so weird to me. Don't
oh, I
bring God
know.
into the conversation.
I know. I don't- there's that. I'm not surprised that is the case, but that's very annoying.
Um,
Um,
don't
I've
treat us
been
differently.
I've been in the car with him. I've gone somewhere with him before where we come back to his van and like someone has parked like in the spot where he needs to like lower his ramp, and we're like, what the fuck do we do? We're literally stuck here because this asshole parked like in the spot where the ramp goes. It was like impossible. It was wild. Anyways, point is, that one's a great example of something to do. You know, the funny thing is my original one that's about hosting. Um, I this is me. This is me. Okay, I have an OkCupid account and I totally posted the magazine on it because I wanted to get it more readership. And I got a lot of like messages from people about this, and specifically the one about hosting. I got so much flack for. Like people like have very strong opinions on whether or not these things that I wrote are like good hosting or bad hosting. I had a guy who was like a kind of a crusty punk guy just like be like, you know what, fuck you, some amazing people have hosted me and they had, you know, messy places and they weren't assholes, they were, you know, they were doing like the good shit. And I'm like, that is totally okay, this is just my opinion, I don't know. What do I tell you?
Well, there's definitely like I think I'm trying to translate for this stranger who I don't care about. And I think the idea is that like you know, in real life, I'm not going to fault the person hosting me for not having clean towels, but like if you have the ability, if you know what's happening, if you
Yeah,
you know are trying to be a good host and you have all of these abilities, then like this is a really good guide.
the point of the guide is not to actually make people feel like they're a bad person. The point of the guide is to say, look, I believe that you didn't mean to come off this way and that you were just like uninformed. And so this is a way to be informed. That's literally all the point of the guide is. You know, I'm not speaking for all people when I write a guide on hosting, just like Connor isn't speaking for all people with disabilities or all people in chairs when he writes his opinion about being a person in a chair. Like that's his lived experience, that's what he thinks was an asshole, were asshole things to do. Like I'm sure there's plenty of fucking people. He's not speaking for all people who have his experience because everyone has a different opinion, period. But the point is that like there's still things I think that a lot of people who do have his experience would read that and be like, yes. And I think that a lot of people who are able-bodied and don't know about anything about that experience could read those and learn from them. And that's what matters. That's what matters. If you've never hosted before and you want to be a good host, it's like great to read that like, hey, here's an easy checklist for you. Have some clean towels, like do this, do that. And also I put in some allowances there that were like, you do not have to be your guest's tour guide. Don't let them make you be that person.
Okay, I'm now probably shouldn't bring this up on the video, but like I'm now very worried that I was a bad host and inspiration for this.
No,
So,
wait, what? Wait, A, why would you read that only now?
because I think I'm perfect until I have to think about it.
Oh my god, too much.
Um,
Don't worry about it. What's the point?
so I said,
You read that like ages ago, and you never thought that until like you were on a video to be like, oh no, am I the person now? No, you're not. It's okay.
I've only hosted you a couple times, and no. Okay. I already touched on how you've been very involved in all sorts of different media of art. And so clearly to me, as someone who knows that about you, this led to the magazine being so very multimedia, right? You've got the GIFs, comics, photography drawings and all sorts of hybrid and
Even a video game.
traditional literature. What?
We got Molly's video game in issue 1.
Yes. So I was hoping to get to that, and then I was like, maybe I made it up. So I'm curious. I wasn't there. I'm curious about how that went at the live show. Can you tell me about that? Your release?
Oh, yeah. I am so sad that you haven't been able to come to one of the release parties because they have been so good. I was so shocked both times. Oh my god. Wait, you want to know about like the one with the video game, or you want to know just like in general?
Tell me about the multimedia experience of your release parties.
Okay. Well, interestingly, so in the first one, we actually put up, this was actually kind of amazing. On the very first issue, because I had such a very minimal like view lens for it, because we had that one page Rhizo poster that like has just like a tiny snippet of each person's contributions and doesn't really show anything, that I wanted to actually show all the actual art. So
is that this one, or are we talking about issue 2? Sorry.
No, first one. We're talking about the first one. So Max Wallace, who runs Max Wallace Good Kind, married now. Max was amazing and hosted at Push Pull Gallery, which is in Ballard. Great fucking place. I know a ton of artists that are in the magazine that are from there. They are a place where they like all are welcome, submit your art, like come and they do like all kinds of they're basically a little shop that sells art and comics. And they also do a ton of art classes and things like that. Anyways, point is that they hosted for the first issue. And we set up a projector screen, and we had like a little, like we had a projector and a little screen, and I like projected, I had made like a slideshow of all of the contributions, and we had that like showing. This was really small, little cute affair. We had like some people bring in like a few like 12 packs of beer to just have in the fridge. Molly brought in like a little computer and put her video game on it so that people could play the video game at the show. And I just had like the issues like sprawled out everywhere. It was like, please just take one. And Britt propped up in like just in the corner practically with like her whole DJ setup and like played music. It was fucking awesome actually. It was a really good event. It was just like, it was like cozy and quiet, but like got kind of loud at some point because there were so many people that showed up. It was really cool. Then we did a little reading and it was good to go. It was a really cute little thing. And then the second
hold on. I want to share the video game really quick before we get into issue 2.
Okay.
So here it is.
Black Magic.
Click to play. I didn't read the rules, so and it's been a few years.
No, you'll be fine. It's just you have to download it and then open it. So
well, you'll see it when you
go play it. It's super fun. It's amazing. It's her first game she's ever launched. And now she's doing crazy stuff. Oh my god, who'd she have? Somebody paid her. She did like a art for. Let me find. I have to look her up. She's getting paid to do like pixel art illustrations now, which is really cool.
I don't know what that means. Is that just stuff that looks like it's 8-bit?
Yeah, like that's what the pixel is. Thing. Anyway.
So tell me about issue 2.
So at the release party for issue 2, which was a little wild, we had Britt and Dion DJ, which was fun to get Dion there, and they were like trading off and stuff. I wanted to do the same thing because they had a projector screen there, but I think that didn't. Oh yeah, I know for a fact that didn't happen because I remember not getting around to it. There's so much to do when you're about to release a magazine that like it's like really hard to get to everything you want to do. But thankfully, because I had a printed issue, people could see it just by buying it and reading it. So that was kind of like the thing. So it was less necessary essentially to like post it up. And so that one we had our friend, our anonymous friend, like selling the magazine in the corner, which was great. And like so many people bought copies. It was amazing. It got so crazy. I had no idea when I like booked the spot. It was at the Vermilion in Seattle. They do like, they're
I
really
thought
fucking
so.
dope.
I thought so. I was
Yeah, it was at
talking to
Vermilion.
somebody else who had a release party there.
Yeah.
Actually here. It was here. It was on this show.
They Vermilion's super dope because you know, they charge money to have people in the space if you're going to reserve it for the night, but like if you have like a suitable cause, like if you're like what mine is, they'll let you, they'll host you for free. Well, at least they hosted me for free. Sometimes they do that if you're doing the right things, and that was really dope. So but the thing is the owner asked me like, well, how many people are going to be there, and I was like, I have no idea. I hadn't just, it was impossible to guess like how many people would show up. I was like we have a lot of people in the issue, but like only about half of them ever can make it out like the night of. And not the least of which because half of them are across the country like you. And then there's like, I just didn't know. I just didn't know who all would show. I advertised it a little bit, but I don't advertise very well. It's like my weak point. And I was like, I don't know. I hope it'll be a decent amount, blah, blah. I felt so bad for the server that night, like the bartender, because it got insane. It was packed to the gills. We had to move tables out of the space because it was so packed in there. So we like midway through the event, we were like moving tables out into the other room. And like, it was so good. Like I just had such a great night that night. The number of people that came out was like humbling. I was so happy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say on that one. That was a great night though. I posted the pictures on my Facebook finally after like 2 years, almost, maybe 1 year. I don't know. Whatever.
It says not having used Facebook in a year. So here's something I think is pretty special, and then we'll probably just have one or two more questions. The editing process on Beholder is pretty different from other magazines. Can you tell me how it's different and why it's different?
Wait, how is it different than? Wait, tell me what. Wait.
You accept work with edits? That's not normal.
Oh, because other people just like accept it.
Accept or reject.
Yeah, that's true.
If something, if the editors think that a change is necessary, then it is not accepted. Now tell me why you do that and how it works.
Okay, well, let's start by saying that I'm thinking that I understand why the other magazines do that, and I might have to sort of switch to that in the future. But it's.
Is that, wait, hold on. Is that something that you're saying with experience? You're now like, I don't know if I have the energy for this?
Kind of, but I'll clarify. So when I first started doing the magazine, you know, I was really excited to flex my editing skills. I really like being a developmental editor for people, but it's much easier to get work if you're going to get paid for it as like a proofreader or copy editor. And you know, you and I have a match made in heaven sort of editor-writer relationship, I would say. I can say whatever I want to you, and you're just like, no. Or you're like, okay, I like it. You're just very firm about your style and what you like. And that's actually what I think is really, really important in an editor-writer relationship, is that the writer knows whether or not to say no. They should know to say no when they're sure about something.
I wanna like underscore that. That's something that and folks who watch the show know this about me. My like current project is exploring workshop styles, editing, blah, blah, blah. And the more I think about it, the more I research it, the more I think that like the artist really needs to know themselves well enough and know their work well enough, which honestly is kind of difficult. Like you need to do some thinking on your piece before you present it to someone else. And that's not easy to do critical thinking on your own work. But the more I research it, the more I think about it, the more I reflect, the more I think it's true that the writer really needs to be able to own that and say no.
Yeah.
And also, yes, like you're not always right.
Totally.
I'm very fortunate to have someone who knows my style well and is not afraid to tell me I'm an idiot. That's
Um,
you.
the thing is that, so there's a lot of stuff that comes in that is so close to perfect, or it's like so amazing. It's like this amazing like perspective that I want it for the magazine. And I don't know, I felt that it would be like a shame to miss out on it because it's not what I would think is like in its raw form publishable. And because I have experience being like both a dev editor and a copy editor and everything in between and around, at the time when I was first doing the magazine, I was like definitely down and willing to edit them. And I kind of learned the hard way that like our relationship, you and me, Sarah, is not the same as my relationship with other people. And so not everybody is as like, it's every relationship from an editor to a writer is a different relationship. It's really nice to find somebody who really fits your style. Some of the writers that I worked with were way easier to work with. And that's not to say that the writers that weren't easy to work with were like resistant in any way. It was just sometimes I got what I wanted when I asked for edits, and sometimes I didn't get what I wanted. And I've even asked for people to be like, let's just actually roll back to like a previous version of what we were doing and use that one, because it's like I didn't quite express what I wanted well enough for them to like write it back the way I was picturing it. And at a certain point, you don't want to get too hands-on as the editor because you want it to be the writer's work. So that said, what I've kind of learned is that if it isn't close enough that I would publish it, that I'd still be willing to publish it raw, but I would prefer to have it edited, I think going forward, I will accept it with edits. But if it's something that like I can't publish it no matter what in its raw form, I might have to turn it down now because I've like learned that. Granted, that said, like for one example, Basilisk Conspiracy that I worked on with Joe. We did like 3 or 4 editing rounds, and I asked him for that story. Like I had heard his story at a work.
It's a really long piece.
It's really long. It's so good though. It's amazing. If I could just like one of the hardest things as a publisher of a magazine is getting people to read the longer ones, because it's like asking a lot for people to put that much attention into something, but it's so worth it, I swear to fucking God. But
no, I know that one was hard. Like that was the last one I read because it was so long and you had to, I think you didn't have to poke me, but you were like, oh my God, I can't believe you haven't read it. And I was like,
fine. Yeah. But okay, so
I'll
Joe's
just roll forever.
Well, I just want to say that like, so Joe is somebody who I went to Works in Progress a couple of times, and he would read pieces of it. He would read
little quick what Works in Progress is.
Oh shoot, yeah. So Works in Progress is a Hugo House sponsored open mic for writers that happens in Seattle. It's pretty awesome. It's a good way to meet writers. It's definitely where I met a lot of the writers that are in the magazine. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's cool. It's a good spot. It suffers a little bit from being really whitewashed. Whitewashed is maybe not the right word. There's just a lot of white people there, and there's not a lot of diversity outside of white people, which is something that they've been working on. So I don't know how that's going to go in the future, but that's that.
They, as an organization, had like an open letter to the public about their racism issues.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I thought that's what you were talking about at first.
No, I actually know somebody who like had like the courage to get up in front of everybody at one of the open mics and say, hey, I'm one of the only brown people here. Do you guys think that's weird? Because I think it's weird. I was like, oh, nice. I think that took a lot of courage. And then we immediately became friends.
Okay, so you met Joe at Works in Progress.
Huh?
You met Joe at Works in Progress.
Yes, I met Joe at Works in Progress. One time after, I hadn't seen him in a long time. He didn't come to a lot of them, and then he came again at one point, and I cornered him outside where people were smoking, and I was like, Joe, I love this so much. Can I publish it? He was like, sure. It's not done though. And I was like, well, let's finish it. Like, what do you got to do? And he was like, well, I have to rewrite the ending. I'm stuck on it. And I was like, okay, well, hit me up. cut to like half a year later, 2 years, a year later. It was probably a year later. I think I wanted his I would think I wanted it for the magazine for issue 1. And then for issue 2, I was like, I finally got him, cornered him enough to get him to like meet with me for it. And basically he'd been like hemming and hawing about the ending for a long time. And I read it. I gave him some feedback. We met. It was like, I had like some really amazing ideas. Like there's this thing that sometimes people do when you're a writer where you have all of the raw materials. The answer is literally right in front of you, staring you in the face, and you haven't seen it yet. And it takes somebody else to be like, look, you obviously set it up for this. Just write it like that. So like he had this whole thing where he had this like kind of like more of a nihilistic, kind of like dark, pessimistic ending for it that he wasn't happy with. And I was like, no, look here, there's the happy ending's right here. Look. And I like pointed at he's got this little tiny bit in it that's where the main character, who's like a total dirtbag scumbag, is like working with this basilisk that's like this like lab creature that is like trying to escape. They're both trying to escape, or they're both trying to do their thing. And kind of a that's a weird summary, but anyways, but there's this point where he says, why was Frederick, being the lizard, like so much more excited about being alive than I was? And I was like,
Wow,
whoa.
spoiler alert.
Like there's this character who's just like doesn't like want to live. Like that's why he's so self-destructive, right? And he's like with this like creature that like is like doing everything he can to live. And so in the end, I was like, at the initial thing that Joe had written was that Frederick wants to die in the end. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. You wrote earlier that he wanted to live. He was inspiration for the main character living. I was like, you can't write it that way. And he was like, oh, you're right. I mean, that's a very bad summary of what actually happened, but that was like one of the things.
No, man,
like
been there.
Yeah.
Not there, but like, oh yeah, that isn't consistent.
He had a dark ending for it, and I think what I said to him was this, and I realized I realized in retrospect that it's something that is my perspective on writing and my perspective that I bring to the magazine that I kind of want the magazine to have, which is we are surrounded by darkness all the time. Like we have to read awful things in the news constantly, and so it's not very exciting to read dark fiction that's just like depressing and nihilistic and like doesn't have like a happy ending. Like the whole reason why we turn to fiction in the first place is escapism. And like, you know, one of my favorite things is speculative fiction, but in my mind, speculative fiction is like what would it take for the world to be a better place? Like what would it take to like re-inspire hope in people? So in my mind, I'm like, stories should have some sort of satisfying ending. They don't have to be like happy ending. They don't have to be like flowers and doves, but like nor should they be necessarily, but there should be an optimism there, that, or like at least like a comfort there that makes things like right with the world.
This is a little bit of an aside, but that's really funny to me that you're saying this because in my recent, I mean, it's been like 2 years now, exploration of Eastern literature, they never do that. And you're one of the first people I met who really engaged with, well, like Southeast Asian lit, but I'm talking about Eastern as like a east of the Caucasus Mountains. So that's just funny to me. So I think that's going to be our last question. I'm going to give you the world, some updates on the Midwest Writing Center. For one thing, we're still accepting submissions to the Dead Poets espresso poetry thing. I've been calling it a contest because not everyone will get chosen, but there are no prizes. So email your poem, 21 lines or fewer, to Midwest Writing Center at gmail.com. I do this every time. I never have my calendar in front of me. And that's those chosen will be on display at Dead Poets Espresso in Moline. Very cool. That's a really, really great coffee shop resource that we have in our community to engage with poetry. we are excited, getting ready for National Poetry Month. Of course, that is April. We're going to have a couple. We've got our whole lineup for Write More Light in April planned and ready. We're going to have a reading. It's April. April is MWC month. Sorry, I got distracted. There's a lot going on. There's a lot coming up, and I don't have a ton that I can actually announce right now. So apologies. Now, Lewis, being the coolest, I'm so sorry. I won't do that again. Has come prepared. Tell me about the next issue. So, as usual, this is when we do our free write. So if you need to go, you shouldn't. You should wait for Lewis to drop this last tidbit of information. But if you must, if you're just too tired of hearing us talk in our
left anytime
in our big earrings and big glasses, then please write more light into your life. Now, Lewis, tell us about issue 3 and give us our writing prompt.
Yes, okay, I will lead into that. So issue 3, it had been on hiatus through COVID. I'm finally starting to like come out of the funk that like is letting me actually start working on it again, obviously. So I'm planning to have it launched this year. And after everything that happened in the past year, I came up with my first like overt writing prompt, my first like overt like theme for this issue, which is learning how to be wrong. And I think that it makes a good writing prompt. Learning how to be wrong can be a lot of things. It can be, learning how to humble yourself as a person of privilege when someone calls you out. It can be learning how to admit that you didn't know what you thought you knew when you said something and then somebody fact checked you. It could be a lot of things. You can take it in a weird way if you want. That'd be fucking awesome.
We're always open to, you can journal and reflect. You can write fiction, poetry, give us a drawing, a comic. But I think this is really exciting, learning how to be wrong. I of course will be submitting, but I also think that what's a little extra exciting about this as our prompt for our free write today. Thanks for watching, MZ. And sorry, one more person I need to shout out. Irtaza, do you know an Irtaza? Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
Is that you can start right now on your submission for Beholder issue 3. If someone wanted to submit to Beholder, how would they do that?
Beholdermagazine.com. There's a part at the top that just says we're open for submissions. Like click this to follow the link, and there's also like a static link that's like always there. Static something. There's a link that's always there that says submit that takes you to the submissions page, and there's like a list of rules on that page, and then there's a link to go to the submission form. So,
and as a reminder, when you're going to submit somewhere, read all the rules. Okay, so our writing prompt for today, I've got 5 minutes on the timer if I can find Zoom. Okay, I've got 5 minutes on the timer. So our writing prompt today is learning how to be wrong. If you're taken off, then please write more light into your life. Otherwise, I actually, fun fact for folks who watch a lot, my alarm is now set to vibrate, so no more screaming when it goes off. Yeah, I do that on camera. It's not cute. Okay. Learning how to be wrong. Lewis, I don't know if you watch these videos. I often look up and talk to the camera while I free write.
Do it.
So feel free to do that.
Okay, cool. I'll follow your lead.
So I'm currently writing, I moved the camera so you could tell I was writing, but now you can't see my face. I'm currently writing a list of potential topics for learning how to be wrong.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I like to say something about what I'm writing so that folks don't feel like there's some requirement.
Yeah. Oh, shit, I kind of want to say something. Can I say something
Say things.
about this? One of the things that inspired me the most about this prompt was so this kind of like some real talk here about this shit. I was in a lot of abusive relationships in my day, and I've been in a couple ones where gaslighting featured heavily, and it was really hard because I took a long time in my life to learn how to be right. Um, to the point where once I finally learned how to be right, how to like be like, oh no, I was right. Like this was a reality that I knew or something, and to like trust myself to be like, okay, but I'm also wrong. And I think a lot of people who suffer from PTSD and gaslighting and stuff like that, like have a lot of trauma around being called out, and
Oh, I love
being,
that. And
you
that's
know what I
so
mean? And
it's so
it's
sweet of you to share too. I know that well, I have an easier time sharing with strangers than real people. But I'm really, really grateful that you gave us that information.
yeah, I guess that's my cats. Sorry, hold on. Here he come. Here he come. My cat's gonna scream now because that's his alarm for getting fed. Because I've totally Pavlovian trained my cats. Just give me 1 minute, Bob. I know, I'm sorry.
You can go feed him. We've got our free rate going.
Joshua's got it. Joshua's gonna feed you. What's happening? Oh, the point what I was gonna say there was that like it can be. I understand that it can be hard if you have trauma to be called out when you're used to that being an abuse experience, like an experience of being abused, but you're not being abused when someone is just trying to help inform you. And it's important to like learn how to like calm yourself in those situations, even though it's hard. Oh my god, also, I have to say this. My friend Kira, who also did the fuckable not dateable poem, is such an inspiration for this prompt. Oh my god. Kira Gilchrist, she's like this fucking like powerhouse of a person who like is just like unafraid to call people out for racism. And like I don't know, she's been a huge inspiration for me for this particular thing. And I actually kind of have been meaning to tell her that that is the case, but I don't know how to like say it proper. But I don't know, like I just love her.
So I've linked. Well, I'll wait until
Okay.
another minute passes, probably. Okay, you see that alarm did not make me scream. So that is our 5 minutes. Something that's really, really, really totally forgot. Oh, something that's really cool about this is like it seems like a pretty narrow theme, but it's not at all. It's about learning just in general. You know, there are a million times that we get that we learn to question what we know, and that we, you know, like there's a learning curve about something, and you become humbled. It's a much broader theme than it sounds like. In the chat for those hanging out on video, I have posted link to the regular Beholder website, link to Man Repeller, link to the video game Black Magic, another link to the video game Black Magic, A shout out to Brian Kranz because his books are for sale for 1
Ooh,
cent on his website.
1 cent. Holy crap.
Uh, the theme and free write topic for Beholder issue 3 is learning how to be wrong. And then we've got a link to the submissions page and a link to Fuckable Not Dateable, which I think is a really excellent poem.
It's insanely good. Wait, can I add one quick thing about this?
Of course.
Beholder will never be isolated to a theme, so you do not have to write about that theme to be in the issue. And please don't feel like held back by that. I think that is like really restricts a lot of submissions to magazines, especially indie ones, by having themes, because people are like, oh well, I don't have anything that fits that specific theme, so I'm not going to submit this issue. Submit anyways. If you think you fit our voice, if you think that you have something good to say, if you just have something weird, submit it. It's fine. Like you do not have to fit the theme. Yeah, exactly. We really love it.
I would also guess that if you're worried about your medium, Beholder would like to see it.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you fell as madly in love with Lewis as I do every time we speak. I hope that you'll check out Beholder. I hope that you'll submit. And as always, I hope that you'll write more light into your life.
Love you guys.